Starting with my introduction, I'm Binod Paneru and currently working as a software engineer in Gurzu. And I had also started my career with PHP, and then I jumped into the Ruby on Rails. And along with the Ruby on Rails, I had also did something on front end, using some framework, JS framework like React.js. Now moving on to the topic. Before that, I would like to stop my camera. Before starting this SAML authentication, I would like to jump into a small demo and explaining what this actually is. And sorry about the UI, guys. It's a very poor UI. I haven't worked on UI. So starting with the SAML authentication. Yes, here I have some email here, and if I request it through it, and it redirect me in some other pages, and I'll tell later what actually this is. And then I'm done. I'm signed in. Now there was a third-party app which helped me in this authentication, and which we called it as an IDP, called uh, called the identity provider. Identity provider is just a third-party app or something which we trust for the authentication. In this case, I had used an Okta as an IDP, and we can use. There are many more IDP in the market, and which we can use whichever we wanted. Some of them are OneLogin or Google or some Azure or some SAML and all. And so if I log out it from here, and similarly it's log out from this, and this is called an SAML authentication. Now before jumping into the how it is integrated in the Ruby app, I would like to give a just something about what SAML authentication in some few slides. Basically, SAML authentication is just a security association markup language. It's based on basically of two parties called IDP and service provider. And IDP is called what I used as a third party's middleware. Uh, Here I had used as an Okta. It can be some other which we trust for the authentication, and service and the service provider means which this is from our app endpoint, which is our own applications. There are many benefits of SAML authentication, and out of them, which these two are the focused and important benefits, which is improved user experience and security, and increased security. As this is why this is in a main spotlight, because as if we have an applications, and that application is based on many other third-party apps, then if we log into the application, then we have to and if we need another application to use it, we have to again log in and log in. So for the faster authentication, and we called it as an improved user experience, and as only one authentication is required, and we call it as a more secure. Basically, SAML authentication is used in for a single sign-on, which we also called it as a SSO. Basically, what SSO is? How let's understand with a simple example. Uh, Consider we have our own applications called our app, and our inside our app we are using the service of let's take an example of some Jira, some ClickUp, and some other applications. And when we logged into our app, then if we want to if we want to get access to the Jira or some other app, then we also need to get logged into the other app like Jira and ClickUp. So using the single sign on and a SAML authentication from a single login, we can access all three applications from our own applications. This is called a single sign-on. And basically how this SAML authentication works. Uh, uh, here we can represent it from this three parameter. Here we have one users and one service provider, and other as an identity provider. Uh, let's say when users try to access to our app called a service provider, and from our app, let's say it try to access some ClickUp app, and then uh, and as ClickUp is not authorized, then first of all, this service provider will request to the identity provider confirming that it's coming from the valid or confirmed user or not. And then if it is and then if it is not, then it will again ensure users to give some login authorization info to the identity provider if it is needed. And if this process is all done, and then identity provider will return an SAML response in an XML format, including all the information of the particular users, including our name, email, or whatever is given when we configure it. This is a simple and just uh, uh, of what is SAML and what is SSO. And this is how the SAML response look like. It's a small screenshot because it doesn't contain all this information, and just a small part of this response. And this include all the information like users email address, phone number, and any other information that we configure while we enter in the IDPs. Now entering into the Ruby, how we set up in our Rails app. Uh, uh, we have a very popular gem in Ruby for the SAML called Ruby SAML. It's just a SAML library for implementing the client-side authorization. And configuring, before we do something in our code, first of all, let's have a quick look on how we configure it in our IDPs. And IDPs means here I have to take some example, take an example of an Okta. Basically, before we do something, we need to create a new app integration in our Okta and select the SAML 2.0. And we do some general setting in this general setting, uh, and then configure a SAML. This is important part where we configure in any IDPs, not only in Okta, not only in Engie. This is a common for all the IDPs. Like a single sign-on URL, this SPI identity ID, and default release state, which is normally an email address. And this look like this when we get filled up. And after this configuration, all the IDPs will return this type of response. This is called a single sign-on URL, and this is called an single logout URL and issuer. And this is an important key which we needed for the authentication. And all these things are stored in our in our database from our applications, and we extract them during the authorization. Now let's see some small gist how we do it in our Ruby app. It's similar like installing Zim in our like other Zim in our Zim file. And this same Ruby SAML is dependent on Gem, as we need as it is an XML, as we require an XML parsing, so we need this Gem. And and this is a small code snippet, and let's see how it works. Uh, uh, I would like to show this from this sample here. When I submit this company email, first of all, this hit in this endpoint, and here we find in a third code that one login Ruby SAML auth request.new. This is an important in the first from the first step, because this create a URL for to redirect in our IDP. IDP means in our case it's an octa. This method actually returns us this type of URL, and this URL contain all our, and it's based on our credential that we gave it, like which I had shown in a previous slide, called secret key or fingerprint and all. And uh, after this and once this redirect is once this URL is hit into an IDP, and once it is processed in the IDP, and then it will return something in the callback. And what happens in the callback means it will return this will pass something and return an return an response in this callback. And this response really contained information of that authenticate user, like which I mentioned it before, like email, and this secret key and all. And if the and if the response is valid, then we can do whatever we want to make from our on app side. And here I had created new users of the same user and logged into the applications. And similarly, as allo means single logout, and this is for the logout, and this is done as same as we did for the SSO. And those are the reference, and this is all my presentations. I hope you guys gain some knowledge on SAML authentication. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions?